Hi, my name is Erica Wright. I am the Research Development Lead at Cal Poly Humboldt sponsored Programs Foundation. And today I'm going to talk about the Research Scholarship and Creative Activities Program. This is an internal opportunity that is available through our office every year. And this video is really just going to talk about the basics of the program and how to be successful at it. So first of all, where you can find more information and how you can apply is to go to the Humboldt Engagement Hub. The link is there. It's available also through your drop-down menu in your My Humboldt. And this is where all of our internal opportunities are always available. And you can find out when the deadline will be, and you can access the most recent call for proposals or the directions of how to do that application. So what is the RSCA funding for? RSCA is the acronym we use for this, by the way. It is for projects that may include support for activities such as research studies, writing scholarly papers, textbooks or monographs, travel to archives or professional conferences, development of pilot studies, collection of preliminary data for grant proposals, participant incentives, recitals, performances or exhibitions, and participation in clinical or professional workshops, etc. So these are just examples of the types of projects and programs that could be supported through this funding opportunity. If you have an idea and you're not really sure, please feel free to reach out to our office and ask us. Again, this is not at all comprehensive. This is just a list of examples of things that you might apply for. And later in this video, I will also talk about the scoring criteria, which can kind of help you figure out what opportunity or what program, what idea might be most competitive. The first thing to think about is whether or not you're eligible for this opportunity. So RSCA funding is available to all members of Unit 3, so all faculty, librarians, coaches, and counselors. And also note that higher priority will be given to individuals who have not received RSCA funding in the last 3 years, as well as probationary tenure track faculty who are at critical stages of their careers. So again, if you're a faculty who has received RSCA within the last year, or you're not a beginning faculty, you're still welcome to apply. It's just that given in the final decision-making process, some priority will be given to individuals who are in those two categories. The details are outlined on the call for proposals, which again is available through the InfoReady link that I mentioned on the first slide. And every year, the deadline is going to take place either the second or the third Thursday in September. Since the dates shift around, we have to make sure there's enough time for the review committee to review the proposal. So it will shift, but it will always be either the second or third Thursday in September. And only one application is allowed per person. And this is intended as a sole investigator proposal, meaning it's really not meant to support multiple faculty or teams. It's really meant as an application for one person's project, which makes sense since the award range is $3,000 to $5,000. So these are small projects generally. And please, that award range is real. So if you ask for $200 or $2,900, you have not fulfilled the criteria of the proposal. And if you ask for more than $5,000, you've not fulfilled the criteria of the proposal. So please do submit grants within that $3,000 to $5,000 range. The amount that's available as to how much funding we have available varies by year. And so check the guidelines for that year. Usually we are able to fund between 12 to 15 projects every year. And that is very consistent. But again, the actual amount is not the same every single year. And please note that RSCA funds may not be used for release time or overload pay during the academic year. So that's really critical that you realize that and that you don't try to write that into your proposal. And then finally, RSCA awards are really intended as one-time grants. not as sole or continuing source of support for a particular line of professional activity. So if this is something that you've been doing for a long time and you just want $3,000 to $5,000 to kind of continue a program, this is not the right funding for you. And again, all of these details are available in that call for proposals. So the elements that you'll need to actually support to actually submit the proposal, you'll need a title. You'll need a proposal abstract, which is just a very brief summary of what it is that you're going to do and why it matters. You'll have to outline what your goals and outcomes are for the project. You'll have to explain what your expected products are. So what are the tangible outcomes of the project that you're proposing? And you'll need to identify the budget categories. So you can't just ask for $3,000 and not tell us how you're going to use it. You don't have to necessarily go into great, item by item detail, but just letting people know maybe $2,000 is being used to hire students and $1,000 for consumables for the lab. And you'll want to give enough explanation so that the people reviewing the proposals have a pretty clear idea of how you're going to use that money. And if you have any questions about any of these pieces or about how to build a budget, please contact our office. Our pre-award specialists are more than happy to help you with that. And the scoring matrix has changed actually from prior years. So please pay attention to that. Always pay attention to the scoring matrix. This is how you're going to be scored. And so this really is a guide for what needs to be strongly developed in your application. So if there's anything else I could say to you besides making sure you read the directions carefully and you follow all the directions carefully, to be successful and to be competitive, you really want to pay close attention to the scoring matrix. It used to be more even, the numbers in each category, and this year we've shifted it around a little bit. So the significance of the project is now worth 20 points. And so in parentheses, it says that this could be significance for the university, for the community, for your career, or just in general to the world. And as it is worth the most points, you want to really spend as much time on this. You want to spend a lot of time on this. You really want to nail this argument and answer this question in all the categories that you can, all the ways that are applicable. So how is your project going to benefit the university and the community and your career? So answer all of those questions and give examples and really try to make someone feel the need for what it is that you want to do. So it's good grant writing advice in any case, and especially here for the RSCA funding. What is the significance of this project? And again, this is something that I can happy to read your proposals for you and give you some feedback if that's helpful. And then what is the potential to result in future research, program, or creative activity? So RSCA funding is really kind of seen as seed funding. So this could mean external grant submissions. It could mean that this is going to result in publications. It could mean that you're creating some sort of exhibition that's going to grow and go on the road. A multitude of different ways you could look at that, but this is 15 points. So it's also really important to know how this funding that we're giving you is going to result in some sort of future work of some kind. Then 10 points for overall quality. So that's whether it's well written, clear justification of costs, etc. Again, you really want to make sure that you answer all the questions, that you answer them clearly and completely, and that there's not a lot of questions. So when reviewers read a proposal and they have a lot of questions, that generally does not work in your favor. You want to make sure that you've been really clear and explained everything to someone who might not be in your field. RSCA proposals are read by a committee that is made up of a representative from each college. So you want to remember that when you're writing this, that your audience are not people who are in your field. So you need to make sure that you're writing to a general audience so everyone can understand clearly what it is that you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, what is the potential, the significance of it. And again, that's something that our office is happy to look that over and give you suggestions. And then finally, there are 5 points for inclusions of students in the proposal. And there are a variety of ways that you might approach how students are included. Generally, reviewers like to see students being paid on these proposals, or students getting some sort of direct experience, whether they're involved in helping conduct surveys or analyzing data. But it is this year it's 5 points out of 50, so it's less impact than these other categories. Okay, so again, make sure you pay close attention to the scoring matrix. Make sure that you think about the amount of points that are available for each category, and that you've made a really strong, compelling, and convincing argument. And then finally, the timeline. So often people want to know, when am I going to get the money, or like, what does this process look like? Basically, again, the deadline is going to be in mid-September, either the 2nd or the 3rd Thursday. And then award announcements will go out by October 30th. So the review committee will meet the last week of October and deliberate and make their decisions. Award announcements will go out by October 30th. And we will also send out reviewer comments within the next week after that. Spending on your project can then begin by November 1st. And please note that all the funds in this grant have to be spent by September 30th. So it's a little less than a full calendar year. But any funds that are not spent by September 30th will be kept and then applied to the next year's risk of funding. So that's a hard deadline. You can't get an extension as far as being reimbursed for your expenditures. And then also one last thing to note is that you will be receiving requests for progress reports. Right now it's set up in the system to send out reminders at 6-month, 12-month, and 18-month intervals, and through InfoReady, which is the same system that you will apply through. This could change. I would like to find a way to make it so that it's more dynamic, but at the moment these are automated. And that means that if at 6 months you haven't started, you'll want to explain why. If at 6 months you're done, that's fine. You can send in your entire report, and then when you get your 12-month and 18-month, you can ignore those. But this is really, if you haven't finished, you will definitely want to make sure that you just give some sort of indication of where you're at with the project. And obviously you have to stop spending before the 12-month, but your project might be done spending, but still working on some portion of your project up until 18 months. So that's what that's for. And really, that's all there is to the risk of funding. Again, I want to just remind you that the most successful applications are the ones that are very clearly focused on those scoring criteria, the scoring matrix, and that are really well written and that fully answer the questions. And I like to say, I wasn't quite on the edge of my seat when I was reading that particular version of your proposal. So how can you get somebody that's on the edge of their seat? Imagine trying to explain your project and the importance of it to someone who maybe your grandmother or your cousin or someone who's not in any way related to your academic field. And that should help you with your risk of proposal. Some years this is very highly competitive. And so taking the time to craft a really strong proposal is within your best interest to make sure that your time is not wasted. And finally, once again, you can contact us, me, or anyone in our office if you have any questions. And if there's any way that we can help you, we're happy to do that. And that's it. Thank you.